Hello BookTube, it's Joshua here, and I'm going to be giving you a little reading update. I've been reading the books of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin recently. Since my last update video, I've read book 2, book 3, and book 4, so I'm a little bit late on my reading updates, so I'll have to catch you guys up a bit. Book 2, The Tombs of Atuan, was really good, I think. Its main character was a girl named Tanar, and she is a priestess in the Tombs of Atuan, a kind of temple that worships the Nameless Ones, they call them. Essentially just spirits of the dead, or they might call them Dark Ones. Eventually, Ged shows up at the Tombs of Atuan looking for a piece of treasure, and it is through Ged that she realizes that her worship of these spirits and her indoctrination into this religion has kind of been malevolent, has kind of been not good for her. And it is through Ged that she leaves that she leaves the Tombs of Atuan and frees herself, essentially. In the afterword of the second novel, Ursula K. Le Guin differentiates between two different kinds of power: the power to do something and the power over something. And I think that's a pretty good way of charting Tanar's progression throughout the novel. In the beginning, she has power over something, because in the Tombs of Atuan, they have a kind of tradition or belief that when the head priestess dies, she becomes reincarnated. So they go out looking for the reincarnated baby, who would have to be given birth to at least in the same day as the death of the head priestess. So that is how Tanar became the head priestess, although she is only about maybe 16 at the time of this novel. So that is why she has power over things. But that power is a kind of empty power, really. The Tombs of Atuan are located in the desert, and really, like, they technically have religious power, but the power is just more honorific than useful, than practical. So, and the religion that Tanar worships, it doesn't give her anything. It worshipping the Nameless Ones, or the Dark Ones, as they call them, doesn't help you in life at all, because the Nameless Ones, as Ged teaches her, are not nice people. Essentially, they're spirits of the dead, so they don't really care if you worship them. So it's an empty power over something. But by the end of the novel, and through the help of Ged, she learns how to have the power to do something. She frees herself from the Tombs of Atuan and from her indoctrination, and she runs away with Ged to other lands. And from there, she's able to choose her own life. And that's kind of the power to do something. I really like that. The third novel, titled The Farthest Shore, it has a more epic scale, a more grand plot. Essentially, the whole balance of the universe is hanging from a thread, and Ged, who is now the Archmage of the wizarding school called Roki, he sets off with a young man named Arin, and they go looking for the cause of this upsetting of the balance of the universe. It turns out that what the cause is a another wizard who was trying to make himself immortal. Essentially, every time he would be killed, he would go into the land of the dead and somehow create a portal or some kind of opening in the land of the dead that would bring him back to real life. But what this did actually was make him a kind of shadow of a man. It made him a shade. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in the third book, where you kind of have to accept mortality, maybe. But it's also a very entertaining book, because Ged and Aaron go all over. They travel and explore all over the world of Earthsea, and it's very fun. Now, the fourth book is very, very different from the first three. The first three were written within the span of a decade or so, and then the fourth book was written 18 years later. So by then, Ursula K. Le Guin, maybe I think probably had different subjects on her mind when she was writing the fourth novel. One of those subjects was definitely feminism. The fourth novel is very, very different. It has Tanar as its main character again, except now 20 years have gone by, and Tanar is a widow to a farmer. After she escaped from the tombs of Atuan, she decided to live a normal life. So the plot is as follows. A little girl named Tehanu is abused, raped, and almost murdered by her family, a group of criminals. She's thrown into the fire, and half of her face is burned to the bone. But she survives, and Tanar takes her in. So the plot really is Tanar and Tehanu trying to, trying to live, trying to survive in a world that is dominated by men. There are a number of times where their characters, male characters in the novel, actively hate or try to hurt them, or just ignore them and just treat them as if they didn't exist, which is certainly a reflection of the real world, of course. Another kind of subplot in this novel is Ged's story. Now, in the third novel, what happened was Ged closed the portal in the land of the dead and stopped the evil wizard from becoming immortal. But that took a lot of power out of him, and so now in the fourth novel, he doesn't have his power anymore. He exhausted it in that last act. So Ged, at the beginning of the novel, feels a lot of shame and feels kind of empty or not the man he once was, because, of course, if you're a wizard and you have a lot of powers, certainly a lot of your pride and a lot of your identity will be bound up in that power. So if you lose it, you'll certainly become lost. And that's what Ged becomes. Throughout the novel, he has to learn to just accept the fact that he doesn't have his power anymore, and he has to try to find out who he is simply just as a man. I liked that subplot a lot. When it comes to the feminist theme, I suppose I was worried that it would be a too simplistic representation of feminism. I worried that all the novel would be saying is men bad, woman good. But it really wasn't the case. I don't think that was the case. I want to read you a excerpt from the afterword of Tehanu. It's not surprising that Tehanu was labeled feminist, but the word is used so variously that it's worse than useless. If you see feminism as vindictive prejudice against men, the label lets you dismiss the book unread. If you see feminism as a belief in superior properties unique to woman and expect the book to confirm that belief, you'll find it equivocal. And just that paragraph tells you that the book is neither of those things, neither of those oversimplifications, I think. It simply displays social injustices truthfully, I think. One other plot line that I really liked in this fourth book was Tehanu's plotline. And Le Guin remarks in the afterword that Tehanu really is the key to this book, which I suppose makes sense since the title of the book is Tehanu, is her name. Because she's so traumatized by what happened to her, and she's scarred for the rest of her life because half of her face is burnt. I think that, well, there's one really memorable quote in the novel, which Le Guin quotes again in the afterword, and it says, "What cannot be mended must be transcended." And in the course of the novel, Tehanu does do that. It turns out that Tehanu has a lot of power, a lot of wizarding power. And it turns out that she's a dragon lord, essentially. At least that's what it seemed to me. But it was a pretty, I think, a pretty powerful storyline with that character. But other than that, I believe that's all I have to say about the Earthsea books. I'm going to continue with the next book in this series, which is a collection of short stories. I'm already a little bit into the first short story, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm becoming a really big fan of the Earthsea novels. As for any other books that I've mentioned in my reading updates, mainly Montaigne, I guess that's going on hold for a while until I finish this book. But that's probably all. Thank you for watching BookTube, and goodbye.